It is essential to keep an eye on your finances, your future, your businesses, your assets, and everything you need to have under your control in the coming years. Making certain precautions, taking the right steps, and following through with action. Today we are inundated with so much conflicting information that it's difficult to figure out what is good or relevant and what isn't. Today we will discuss very important strategies to make calculated decisions that are in the best interest of you and your family. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Time and time again, we see people that find themselves in a predicament. This could be related to the financials, it could be the economy, it could be something with their employment, or it could be some natural event. Either way, most people are unprepared for everything. So I do think it's wise to take steps in order to become more prepared. Now, while this applies to everything, we're going to look at this from a financial and economic standpoint. Let's get into it. During the financial crisis, many people were hurt very badly by what happened, even if they weren't investing directly in subprime or anything for that matter. So many businesses were taken out because of the derivatives insanity, and the damage left in the wake could be seen for miles on end. Now you have to understand this. We had the subprime loans, we had the ninja loans, we had everything that was going on with these crazy derivatives, the credit default swaps and the CDOs and so on. But how many average individuals were invested in all of this garbage? And yet, how many of them were affected by it, even 10 years later, still feeling it? So understand that just because you think that your situation is so tight, it's so bound, you don't have anything to worry about, all you have to do is look back a decade ago. Sadly, nothing has been done to fix any potential future problems, so we will certainly see another crisis unfold faster than people can prepare for. So it is most wise to assess your current situation and take precautions and necessary steps to mitigate potential loss. Now, obviously, people don't prepare, they don't have anything ready to go, and you always see them scrambling and struggling when the time comes. Do you wait for a fire in your kitchen to then go out, drive to the store, buy a fire extinguisher, come back, and then take care of it? Of course not. You want to have that in your house already. Now, do you look like a fool because you bought a fire extinguisher, paid money, have it sit there in your house for years and years on end and never use it? Of course not. That's not why you have it. You have it just in case. You made that preparation. Now, you might have insurance on your vehicle or your home, and hopefully you never need to make a claim. So you've been paying month after month after month for years and years on end, paying that insurance company, and you never made a claim. Is that a bad thing? No, that's a good thing. People have this messed up mentality of the way that things work when it comes to their finances. They think completely differently, and I'm really not sure why. Each and every action you take depends on many factors. These may include your personal situation, your income, your risk tolerance, your age, and your goals. Now, what you like is not necessarily what I like. What my current situation is might not be your current situation. So you have to take what you have, what your family is dealing with right now, and take the steps based on that. So there's no necessarily cookie cutter way to approach things, but there's always some good information. Many things can come along the way and derail your situation and modify these factors. You must always be actively paying attention for optimal success. So for example, if we have an individual who's 3 years out from retirement, all of a sudden we have a recession that comes in, wipes out their 401k, things have changed big time. So if you weren't prepared for a potential event like that, obviously this is going to hurt. Now hopefully you can get your employment back. If you lost that, maybe your assets, you need to take some time for those to appreciate once again. But that's why we need to have different levels here, different ways to prepare. There's so much to talk about on this subject. I have other videos here in this playlist. This playlist is called How To and Solutions. If you watch the first few videos there, they are so important. In fact, this is really just one piece, and the other videos will fill in the blanks. So definitely check those out. I will link to that at the very end of this video. Diversification, we've heard it all before. Diversify your portfolio, well-balanced, high-quality companies. All of the nonsense talking points we're all tired of. How many times have you heard of somebody having a diversified portfolio and then you find out they own a bunch of mutual funds? That's not diversified. That is not what I'm talking about at all. And yet this goes for so many people in the financial industry, and I've had arguments with many of them, and unfortunately they're not willing to look in any other direction. So that's just the way it is. Diversification goes far beyond that. For example, if you're going to own paper assets, you need to own different types of paper assets. Now, within that asset class itself, you need to diversify even further. If you invest in technology, you don't buy just one company, you buy a handful of names. That spreads the risk. So if you like Amazon and you think that's what I'm going to go with, I really love Amazon, I buy everything on Amazon, this is the future, I'm going to put all of my money into Amazon. Well, you might turn out okay, you might not. But the proper way to do things is to diversify. Now, you might think technology is great, and if this happens to be one tech stock that you like, well, of course, you can buy that, but you should also be hedging your bets. And this is very important, and I'll give you one relevant example. If you take Facebook, back in 2018, they had some major problems. The scandals were piling up. And if you looked at the index that this particular stock is often found in, whether it's the FANG stocks and so on, now while the index might be doing good, one of those stocks, with Facebook having scandal after scandal after scandal, might get pulled down. So if you would have bought just Facebook, for instance, that might be a big issue and could have been avoided if you would have had some of that diversification. A lot of people feel that the ETFs are diversified. For example, if I buy the S&P 500 ETF, but that actually isn't the case. In precious metals, you don't want to own just silver eagles, for instance. You want to own silver and gold. You want to buy different coins, bullion, junk or common coins, different denominations. You're diversifying within the asset class itself. Now, again, I'm only using these things as an example. Do whatever you want. I'm just trying to make a point here. There's diversification, and then there's different levels of diversification. And often those in the financial industry don't talk about this. And I don't understand how they get away with this, because I think it's integral. Knowledge. One of the most important and overlooked factors is to learn. However, much of what you currently know, it is insufficient. You must learn more. You must learn every single day towards whatever your goals are, protecting your assets, increasing your income, etc. Now think about this for a second. The average person, they're getting the news headlines, they're hearing people talk at work, maybe they listen to radio on the way home. That's pretty much it. That's the level of information that we have. So you have to understand, when you're talking to the average person, they're completely uninformed and more likely misinformed. So we have to remember that whenever we're having discussions with people, and take these things really lightly, because they don't know what the hell's going on. Now, they should be looking to it further, but quite frankly, the programming that we've been receiving over the years is intelligently made up. Okay, the way that they do this, it's not by accident. This is all part of a grand plan. They want people to be misinformed. They don't want them to be educated, but I believe the most important thing is to have your education. You need your financial education. You probably didn't get that in school. Most parents didn't know about it either. So we need to do our due diligence on a daily basis. There's so much information flowing in every single day. How can you possibly keep up? Well, quite frankly, it's not possible to do so, but we can make wise choices. You know, if we have some travel time, if we have some of these periods in which we can absorb information, whether it's reading, listening, and so on, well, we should take that. We have to be choosy with it, just as talked about at the beginning of the Money GPS, knowing that, look, all of this is available out there, and we collect, and we have to really take action on it, not just learn, but actually make steps. Read as many books as you possibly can. I think this is one of the most important things that people can do in their life. Now think about this. You might have a person who isn't even alive anymore, a wise person who wrote a book, maybe many books, and they condensed their knowledge onto a bunch of pages of paper. You can read that and download it into your mind. Think about how amazing this is. So you have somebody who works for decades and decades and decades. They condense their knowledge for you, and it's available for so cheap. It's incredible. Listen to audiobooks and travel during driving, walking, or exercising. This is a way that you can actually make steps to learn in a time that was normally wasted. I've seen people that have said, well, I like to listen to music because I want to enjoy some of my time. Now, this right here is weird to me because it's as if you don't enjoy it. Well, what's not enjoyable about books? Maybe we're on a different page. Eliminate the waste. Get rid of that which prevents you from learning. If that's TV, Netflix, bad relationships, always scrutinize your current situation. I've had people ask me before, how do you have time to do that? I say, do you watch television? And the conversation is literally over. Now that's a personal opinion, but you got to do what you think is right for yourself. Tone it down. If you have been investing your money in any assets, you're taking a risk, plain and simple, okay? With investing, there is risk. You can't avoid risk, but you can reduce risk. And this is something that a lot of people aren't even aware of. Holding assets that are deemed less risky, while that is ultimately subjective, can certainly be wise to think about. A blue chip stock is statistically less likely to disappear tomorrow than a junior mining company, but ultimately doesn't mean it can't happen. That's why I talk about diversification, because you don't want to own just one company. You don't want to own just one type of anything. There have been examples in history where doing so have really screwed over a lot of people, and it doesn't really take much more to spread that around. Paying very close attention to liquidity. If you own an ETF, if there's major selling, you will be unable to find a buyer. If you own real estate to flip, you may not attract a buyer. This is what's important. People are hanging on to a particular asset and they say, this home right here is worth $1 million. Well, actually, if you put it on the market for $1 million, you have to find the buyer who's willing to pay $1 million. Maybe you're only going to get somebody that puts an offer in at $900,000. Now suddenly, is that $1 million home or is that a $900,000 home? Well, at that very moment, it's only worth $900,000 because that's all the available buyers. The same thing applies to other assets as well. Geography. It's an important part of investing to understand geography. There are many aspects to this. You can hold all of your assets in one location, or you can invest around the world. This could be owning shares in a company listed in China, or could be precious metals in a vault halfway around the world. Of course, the same thing applies to real estate and others as well. Think about what you're exposing yourself to if you are only investing in one particular market, in one city, in one sector. This is very dangerous. If you spread that around, of course, you open yourself to certain other risks because you spread yourself wide, but that may not necessarily be a bad thing. If you own an asset in another currency other than your own, you are potentially seeing appreciation on the asset and also having the benefit of currency diversification. So if you were to own stocks in another country, you now technically have your asset in another currency, as well as the fact that you're investing outside of where most of your assets currently are. This is something to think about. Preparation. Being prepared comes in many forms. Having a game plan is essential. A lot of people have never just sat down with a pen and paper and tried to figure things out. Just spend literally 10 minutes with a pen and a paper, understand what your current situation is, understand where you want to go, and what you need to get there. While some people think they know exactly how future events will unfold, too many of them, this is not a wise belief to have. If things don't work out according to plan, this will disrupt your preparations. I know a lot of people who are saying, well, okay, I'm gonna invest in my 401k. Every single month, I'm gonna put $200 in there, and when I'm 65, I'm gonna be able to retire with $1 million. Unfortunately, it all depends on what you've done how the markets have reacted, your preparations all along the way. It's not necessarily going to work out as you planned it. And let's say you ended up retiring and then a couple years later, that pot of money, your 401k, gets halved. Are you going to now go back to work? What are you going to do? Are you going to wait for those assets to appreciate again? How long will that be? Nobody really knows. Chasing trends will always leave you behind. The steps you take today are to prepare for tomorrow. You don't want to be so reactive. Debt. That is a villainous, devious creation that plagues many individuals and their livelihoods. There's no way to turn it back if people allow the cycle to continue. Be wise about your purchases, your daily expenses, and your impulse buys. These are things that you have to personally have under your control. Nobody's going to stop you. You got to deal with it. Elimination of high interest debt is so integral to success and preparation for any potential events. Compound interest can be a blessing or a burden. Now think about how quickly that interest is going to add up. If you bought something silly with the credit card, you're going to be paying a lot more on it in the end. This is not very wise. In an inflationary period, banks can simply peg the inflation rate to the debt, forcing you to pay an equivalent amount. I know so many people who rack up their credit cards, pay the minimum on it, and think, well, inflation's coming soon, they'll just wipe my debt away. Well, unfortunately, that probably isn't the case. You will not escape. The banks and the central banks have created a system of control known as debt. They use the currency against the populace in order to make sure that they're under their control. Take steps today. You don't need to have a paradigm shift overnight in order to make progress. Just take steps to bring you closer and closer to where you want to be. If you believe that you could potentially do something with your savings but haven't, take action on those you're capable of right now. So maybe you wanted to do 10 things, but you're only able to do 2. Well, don't just sit around thinking, well, if I can't do all the other 8 of them, then I might as well not even do these 2. No. Don't do that. Take action on those things today. Each person's going to be different, your situation, your age, and so on. We already talked about that, but at least do what you can. Look at what you haven't worked into your plan and see what you need to make it work. Is it time? Is it money? Is it knowledge? Do whatever you got to do. Always keep moving ahead at all costs. Never stand still. I hope you found this video informative. If you did, smash the like button. When you do so, you are supporting this channel. If you want to learn how to build a business online, if you want to learn about passive income, I created a 100% free e-course for everybody to learn how to sell on Amazon. It's at the AmazonGPS.com. If you want to know more about the financial system and how this all works, if you want to be prepared, if you want to take steps every single day, these 2 books will give you that foundation. It will give you the knowledge that you need. You could see them in the link in the description over at Amazon. You can flip through the pages of the books to see if you like them. If you want the audiobook, that's available at the moneygps.com. This is the playlist that you need to watch, particularly the first few videos, but of course you can scroll through, see what interests you, click on them, and get that knowledge. Okay, I'll see you there.